want nostalgia and throwback in the parks, movies, televisions, and games. I'm Alicia Keisler.
And I'm Tyler Mann, and we're chatting with some very special guests today. Please welcome Drake Bell and Tom, Alex, and Philip of Lip Candy. Welcome, everyone.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hello.
Thanks so much for joining us. This is our homage to the now destroyed Epcot location, which had relaxing tables, drinking weird Coca-Cola beverages, and getting out of the sun. Plus, it's bathed in 90s vibes. So hence this show. So consider this more of like a hangout. Where's everyone located, or where's everyone videoing in from today?
I'm in Los Angeles, California.
I'm in Westlake, Texas.
Phil and I are in.
We said it at the same time. Look at that.
Oh, man.
Same time.
Orlando, Texas, and Los Angeles.
And I'm located in Canada, the cold, cold north.
Not as cold as me. It snowed last week in Minneapolis, so don't even.
I'm a California kid. I couldn't live anywhere where it wasn't like this most of the year.
I grew up as a Floridian, so this is a little difficult for me, but whatever. We make it work.
So you're more familiar with Disney World?
Yeah, that's like my home. So, and that's actually like kind of what we were gonna like start this whole conversation was like, where is your home park? So like for me, it's Walt Disney World that has my heart. You guys?
Definitely. Well, my home park is Disneyland. I grew up in Anaheim, so I grew up like.
Oh wow!
So close.
Wow.
It was like my local home, you know. I was there. You know, I'm there all the time. It's crazy. This is actually the longest time that I've gone, not going because of this whole pandemic. So it's pretty strange.
Wow. I'm super jealous. I want to live in like Disney World's backyard or Disneyland's backyard. It was a 2.5 hour drive for me. So like we went a lot, but like you still have to drive.
Yeah. Yeah. I was literally around the corner. So like after school, just go to Disneyland.
Oh,
what a dream.
Okay. That's super cute. You went.
Yeah. There was actually one year I checked my park pass and I had gone, it's like 290 times that year. It's like crazy, like hundreds and hundreds of times. Like there was a time where I was going like I had some time off and I was just going every single day and I went like it was wild.
Oh my god!
I have a friend of mine who has the world record for going for consecutive days in the park, and it's such a bummer because of this whole pandemic. It ended his streak, and he had gone for it was almost 4 years, I think, every single day, not missing one day.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Imagining
And you guys the boys are closer to Disney World. So have any of you been to Disneyland?
Yeah.
Oh.
I actually.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I have.
So just
That's where I went first time. That's the first time I ever went to any Disney park. I've been to Disney World more times, but Disneyland is like where because I lived in Arizona at the time, so I went there, and that's. Yeah.
Well, you got to experience the better one first, so that's good.
Shots fired.
Because I'll make an argument for TDR.
Huh?
Tokyo Disneyland, have any of you been? Because I'll make the argument that that's the best one.
I went to Disneyland Paris, which is really cool.
All right,
Wow.
that's on my list.
The guy who runs our site is like Tokyo. Best one.
Is that the best? Yeah, that's what I've heard. It's amazing. Who's in downtown Los Angeles near the sirens? We've got the sirens going through.
Oh no, that's me.
All the windows are shut. You can still hear it. It's so annoying.
I'm in LA and you got the sirens. That's funny.
Yeah. Listen, I didn't know, Tyler. I live in like Murder City, like 2 blocks away. There's always someone getting killed. So.
Oh goodness. Well, many.
It's fine.
It's safe. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Just don't go.
Yeah, I'm definitely partial to Disneyland. I gotta say, Disneyland is better. That's what I loved about Disneyland Paris was it was a lot like Disneyland in Anaheim, more so than like Disney World. They had some really cool stuff there. Like one of the coolest things they had was, well, first of all, their main street is absolutely incredible because they have the actual main street, and then they have two other corridors like on either side of Disneyland that are like this like mall like I don't know, like they have like gas lamps and you can actually walk down the main street inside.
Oh, yeah.
It's really amazing. You should check it out on YouTube or something if you haven't. And then also their Thunder Mountain goes under. There's a tunnel, yeah, you know, and it goes under the River of America and comes out on Tom Sawyer Island. It's really cool.
Every park's got that unique touch to it.
Yeah.
And they have the Ratatouille.
Yeah, well, we're getting that in Epcot when the parks reopen.
That's right. Dude, that ride is so amazing. Have you guys been on the new Star Wars?
Rise
No,
of the
not yet.
Resistance. Dude,
it is the greatest ride of all time. I'm not even a Star Wars fan. Like I'm not even crazy about Star Wars, but it is the most unbelievably technologically advanced thing that I've ever seen in my entire life. It's out of control.
So you liked Batu then, and like kind of all of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, or just the ride?
Galaxy's Edge is like okay. I wasn't like super stoked about it because I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, and I don't know. It was closed for so long, and it took out. They kind of like infiltrated. You know, I'm like a Disneyland purist, so whenever they change something, I get all. I'm like, what? This is so lame. Like, why are they changing it?
Welcome to our site.
I was gonna say, this is guy who runs our site like besties.
Yeah, and so they took out the petting zoo, and they took out like the whole what was it called? The
ranch.
The ranch, yeah, exactly. They took the ranch out and all this stuff. So I was kind of like going out for Star Wars, like, ugh. And then anytime they do something new Star Wars, the park is just like overpopulated, you know? And so and then when I went to Galaxy's Edge, I was like, I mean, it's kind of cool. It just, I don't know. It didn't seem like, I thought for something like Disney, you know, I thought that it was going to be so much more extravagant. And the ride, Smuggler's Run, it's like we already have Star Tours. Like, I mean, I guess if you get to be the pilot, cool, but the screen looks all cartoony. Like it looks like you're watching a cartoon. It doesn't look as real and as cool as Star Tours does. And so I was just like I wasn't very impressed with that. And Rise wasn't open, so I kind of went there and I was like, all right, I get some blue milk and walk around for a little while, I guess. But and then everything is like, yeah, I love the blue milk. It's really good, actually. I go there. I like blue milk. I don't like the green one. The green one is disgusting. But
everyone has their opinion. It's so funny.
Yeah, the green one is gross, dude. But I also, maybe just because I don't know anything about Star Wars, like, are any of you guys into Star Wars? Like, do you know anything about Star Wars?
I used to be
crazy.
That's true, yeah.
You are, Philip?
Since I was a kid, dude, I was lightsabers in the lawn.
Okay, then maybe you can answer this question for me. I mean, I get that like Jedis are like samurais, and they're like, it's like they kind of have that sort of connection, but it almost feels like when I'm in Star Wars Land, what's it called? The official name of
Galaxy's Edge.
Galaxy's Edge. When I'm in, I don't like either. Like Fantasyland, Frontierland, Tomorrowland, Galaxy's Edge. Like, what? No, it's Star Wars land. Like, it needs to be planned.
Yeah.
And so
in Hollywood studios, it's like the same thing where it took, like you were saying, it took out the ranch and everything close to Big Thunder. And with over here, like we lost Streets of America, the Honey I Shrunk the Kids playground, the studio tour, the stunt show. And then this came in and it's like, wow, we got rid of a bunch of stuff for 2 rides and a lot of shopping.
Yeah. And I don't understand. I mean, Philip, maybe you answer this. It feels to me like I am in Japan at Epcot. Like everything is just, it's just all like Japanese influence. And I don't know if that's like a Star Wars, if that's a Star Wars thing, but I wanted to feel like I was on another planet. Like when I'm in Pandora, I'm like, whoa, I'm on another planet. We got the floating islands. Like this is another planet. Like the plants look different. All this stuff. But when you're in Galaxy's Edge, you're like, cool, I'm in Japan. Like I don't get that. It's like it doesn't feel like you're on another planet, you know? Like and when you go on Star Tour, you like go to these different planets and it's like, yeah, I'm on Hoth. Like, yeah, I'm on this other planet. Yeah, I'm on Tatooine. Like you feel like you're on another planet, but then you go to Galaxy's Edge and you're like, what? I don't get it. Like all the statues look like samurai statues, and all of the writing, all of the just everything looks like, I don't know. That's my take on it.
It's accurate. I will say, like, it very reminds me of like walking down like Osaka and like kind of like a street market almost. It's very similar vibes.
Yeah.
Well, not
I was going to say we could talk about Star Wars forever.
But wait until you get on to Rise of the Resistance. You are going to have your mind absolutely blown, and you will. I know it's like, oh man, there's only 2 rides over here, but that ride is the most. It's the most epic thing I've ever been on. When you get on that ride, your mind is going to be absolutely blown. It's like 4 rides in one, and everybody's in character. So all of the, I don't know who they are, the bad guys or whatever. I don't know what they call. What do they call the bad guys in the
First Order?
The First Order. Yeah. So you'll be like in line, and they'll be like, okay, get over on the red, and you'll be like, and they're like, no, I told you to stand over here. Quit leaning against the wall. Tell me where the base is. And like everyone's in character, so they don't break or anything. It's pretty. You're like, whoa, oh, sorry, okay, this is very not Disneyland. Very cool. And it's 4 rides in one. It's like Star Tours meets the Ratatouille ride because it's trackless, and it's got like, you know how Haunted Mansion starts and it has the stretching room is like part of the ride, and then you go back in line. They have that, so it's like you go on a ride, get back in line, but the pre-show is like a ride in itself. Like I actually thought when we got in there that was the ride. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. This is sweet. And then the doors opened and all the stormtroopers were there, and we were walking through. I was like, wait, what? We're getting back in line? Oh, that's not the ride. Oh, whoa. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's like the quintessential Disney experience, is like going into a room and then there's a pre-show and then there's like another pre-show and then there's like a thing before the ride and then you got on the ride and it's just like continues out into the exit. You said Haunted Mansion. Let's talk about that, because you're like a giant mansion fan, and I think like everyone here is probably giant mansion fans as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Haunted Mansion's one of my favorite rides at the park. I mean, it's just, I'm just a Disneyland fan. I couldn't like really pick something that's my favorite, but Haunted's definitely something I get on every time I go to the park. Is something I want to get on every time. Yeah.
It's another one of those, like there's a pre-show and then there's like another room you walk into and then you go into the ride. Because you posted that, like the TikTok of recreating like the stretching room, and like we did like we had a contest where we were like asking people to send them pre-show, like recreate their favorite pre-show, and people got like really creative, and And that one was also like really, really fun too. It was just like, if you could like recreate, like you obviously you're sitting in the tiki room basically, but if everyone could like recreate a ride in their house, like which one would you want to do the most?
I'd probably do Haunted Mansion too, honestly. I don't know. It's just my vibe, I guess.
Yeah, and the music's great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure. The movie, you know, like weird coincidence, but like whenever there's the scene, whenever there's the ghost like headstone quartet that's singing, like I was thinking that could be like a lip candy. You know, we could do a rendition of that somehow. I think we could do that, but
Please.
Dude, that would be
great
sick to recreate something like that. One of the heads are
absolutely do that.
Yeah.
When the guy that goes, the dude, is he the broken one? I think he's the broken one, but it's Thurl Ravenscroft who's Tony the Tiger.
Mm-hmm.
The same. They're great.
Yeah, there's that one bust that's like on the side compared to all the other ones.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, if there wasn't so much internet latency, we could like recreate that right now. But it's so hard when everyone's like half a second off of each other.
That'd be a pretty psychedelic rendition. It would just sound like a bunch of delay and reverb and it'd be kind of cool.
Even echoey and haunting.
If I had to recreate and I had all the money, I always say this every time I get on the ride, is if I was like Bill Gates or something, I would have Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Are you gonna have red though? Please tell me you're gonna have like actual red, like wench scene. Or are you gonna do like new pirates with like she's got the gun and she's got the chicken?
No, I have the original, dude. I told you, I'm curious.
Sure.
I'd have the guys chasing the girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I would even add Jack Sparrow. You know what I mean?
Oh, you're going way back.
Yeah. I just like hire Johnny Depp every once in a while.
Alex looks enough like him.
Yeah, there we go. I'll come and be Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, you got it. He could easily do that.
That'd be amazing.
What rides did you guys do?
Yeah.
It's not really a ride today, because I remember the most vivid memory I had in Disney World was Robinson Crusoe house.
The Swiss family.
Oh yeah.
The Swiss Family Robinson. There we go. I would just like that to be my house. That would be it.
Dude, that would be so sick.
That'd be an awesome
Yeah, even
house.
today, like
Right now is
yeah.
it's a Tarzan treehouse now, but yeah, I'm missing the Swiss Family Robinson house.
I guess it's been a while since I've been.
Is it?
I
still
just
Swiss Family
went on
Florida?
that last time.
It's
Is
Swiss
it? Isn't
family
it? Still
in
Swiss- Yeah, it's still Swiss Family in Florida. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it in? Where is it in Disney World? It's not in.
It's in
Adventureland.
Adventureland. It's right. It's like the first thing you see when you walk in. That's sort of like the weenie of that area that just like draws you into
Got it.
Adventureland. Never wait for that. That's the thing. There's like so many things in the parks that you can easily miss if you're like an attraction focused person. Like if you're like major rides, thrill rides, like it's easy to miss like Tiki Room or Country Bears. You're like, what? No line? Okay, no, I'm not going to do that or something.
Well, I kind of love that that's what you remember because, like, I've been to Disney World like hundreds of times, and I think I've only done Swiss Family like once. So, like, it's really cool that that's like what you remember.
Yeah, I loved that as a kid. Like, same thing as like what you were saying, Alex. I was like, dude, oh man, it'd be so cool to just live here.
What about you?
My favorite attraction, like as a kid, when I went to Disneyland, like it was crazy enough. Like I went on Star Tours a bunch and all that stuff, but like the one ride that like really stuck with me was Indiana Jones Adventure at the time, because I as a had a phobia built in my mind that like dips and drops and like rides and roller coasters scared me so much. Like I just hated it. And of course there was the second like I got on, you know, you're going across that bridge. I think they changed it up, but I have two memories. It was going across like a bridge over like a pit of like doom or like an abyss. Like and then there was the ball coming down, and you know you duck under the ball, and I was like, as a kid, I loved that scene. That it was just so cool.
Yeah, no, it's still exactly the same, dude. That's one of the best rides, and that's, I mean, you know, it's another reason why Disneyland is better than Disney World.
We have 4 parks. Count them 4.
You have 4 parks?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you get to those parks?
Okay. Sure.
How do you
I feel like this is a rib on like buses and waiting 40 minutes for a bus.
You know how we get to our other park?
You walk. Drake, just imagine you can take the greatest thing ever, the Skyliner, and you can get trapped up there for hours.
Yeah. We don't have
Right.
We don't
the
talk
Skyliner.
about this.
Is that the Skyway? Or is that the... What
The
is the
Sky
Skyliner?
Buckets, they just added them. They go from a couple of resorts. No, I'm sorry?
You guys still have that?
They're new,
No,
so they
it's
took them
new.
down, you know,
Okay.
rebuilt them, put them on. They go from like hotels to part of the parks or whatever. But now they're like notorious for going down and opening your emergency kits and getting stuck up there for hours. So real safe.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Awesome.
one of the issues I have. That's one of the issues I have with Disney World as opposed to Disneyland, is their turnaround on stuff is way too quick. So their stuff breaks down. Their rides aren't as like Disneyland. I mean, we spent 2.5, 3 years refurbishing Thunder Mountain before it opened back up. They got the wrong tracks. They came back. They're like, nope, these are wrong. Redo this, that, and the turnover rate for Disney World is just like, just get it open. We need the tourists. Just get it open. We need tourists to get on this stuff. Just get it open. Just get it open. Just get it open. And so it like lacks that detail and that extra time that they put in to make everything just absolutely perfect, you know.
Oh, and believe me, we've like reported on that.
Yeah. And then like I was saying before, just like, you know, yeah, you have 4 parks, but it's like a bus and a train and a car and a boat and you're just like, by the time you get there, you're like, okay. And the thing is each park should have more in it than just what a land would have. So, like, for example, you have to go all the way to Animal Kingdom because you want to ride Everest. But then once you're done with Everest, you're like, great, now what do we do here?
Oh.
Like,
Oh my
you know, and then same with Tomorrowland. I mean, you guys, it's bigger, but then you get to Tomorrowland, and there's not it's like the Space Mountain hasn't been refurbished since the 70s. I mean, you're like, it's like Disney World Space Mountain feels like our Matterhorn. You know, you're like, oh, what? No, headrests and everything. You're jerking around. Like, that's it? You know? And our Space Mountain is like all like state of the art, smooth sailing, music in the headrest.
You have the
like,
soundtrack, yeah.
And then they do Ghost Galaxy. Do you guys do Ghost Galaxy or
They don't, because like you said, it takes too long to like layer in all the other overlays.
Yeah.
So Disney World doesn't get like Haunted Mansion Nightmare and all that.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You guys don't get Nightmare Before Christmas. It's so rad.
Yeah.
We know. We want to do it. This would have been the month I go to Disneyland, but
yeah,
oh well.
Yeah. I'm so like jonesing for it so badly. It's such a bummer.
So then
Yep.
I'll keep on that. If you could be at the park right now, all of you, what would you eat or drink? Like, what are you missing? Like, I know I'm missing Dole Whips, like, so much. I need Dole
You
Whips.
see, they started coming out with recipes for all the Disney snacks,
Yeah.
so you could have them at home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. That was one cool thing. We have it now at Disneyland, but when I went to Disney World, I was like, wait a minute. There's more flavors of Dole Whip? There's not just pineapple? Like, what is raspberry and orange and all these other ones? But now we have them in at Disneyland.
You're fancy.
I like, what do I always get when I'm there? Bengal barbecue is pretty good. The churros, if they're fresh.
I prefer stale churros.
Have you had issues in the past with stale churros or something? Like,
yeah, sometimes they're just cold.
You sound like you have a grudge, man.
I do, and they raise the prices like they raise the prices like 75 cents every year, and you're like, for a cold churro, what else are really good there? You know what's really good is if you go to Ghirardelli in California Adventure, and you get I don't know what it's called. It's not a hot chocolate, but it's actually a cup of melted Ghirardelli chocolate. It's just melted hot. It's just melted milk chocolate in a cup, and you get that, and then you go get a hot churro and you dip it.
Oh, genius!
Oh,
that sounds so good.
Yeah.
This seems very
or like
divisive.
sandwiches that you dip on. You dip that in the hot chocolate, but it's literally melted chocolate. So good.
That sounds so good. I'm just an ice cream guy, so like
Okay.
that's just what I go for each time. So
The Dole
I'm
Whip.
just plain.
I like a huge turkey leg.
Oh, dude.
man.
Oh yeah.
Remember when there was that rumor that they were like emu legs?
Yeah.
Dude, turkey legs are so good. I remember this one time I was in line for a turkey leg over by Matterhorn, and I heard this dad behind me. He goes, he's like standing in line for a turkey leg, and he looks at the price of the turkey leg, and he's like, "What? Is that much for a turkey leg?" He's like, I've already spent $900 and we just walked in the park.
Welcome to Disney.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, I remember when the passes were like $100.
Not anymore.
No, they're like 2,000.
And they keep raising them. Even while we're under closure, everything's still going up.
They're not doing anything for quarantine. They're not doing anything. They're not like, here's some extra months or here's some this. No, I'm just paying $250 a month to not go to Disneyland.
Yeah. Sorry,
Pretty
by the
brutal.
way.
Yeah, it sucks.
When was like Drake, obviously you probably went like the day before it closed, but when was like everyone else's last time going to the parks?
Happy. My last time going, I mean, it was a minute ago. You know,
I last went to Disney World like senior year of high school because my school went out as senior year instead of spring break, you could opt in to pay to go to both Disneyland for like 2 days because they opened it up to like exclusively the graduates, and then Universal Studios for a night for exclusively graduates. And they have like some celebrity performer, like we saw Fifth Harmony or something like that. I don't know, but I was just riding the rides. You know, I was riding the rides. I wasn't. I was listening to music up top, but whatever.
I wish I would have thought of that for my graduation. That sounds sick.
Yeah. I was pretty lucky.
Last time I went
sounds like it.
was 5 years ago to Disney World. I went with my high school band, like musical pit band, and I played.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Did they like take you backstage and stuff? Like, did you get to see anything like
Hardly,
being
no.
part of that? Oh.
No, they basically just took us behind stage and they're like, okay, you're next. We ran up there, we did our job.
Where in the park did you play?
I cannot remember. Just downtown Disney on some performance stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disney
That's
Springs
like,
or whatever?
yeah.
I remember like learning the songs a week before on drums, and I was like, okay.
Oh, well.
That's classic.
High school band or a high school band?
It was, I was in the pit band for a performance of Grease.
Oh, rad.
And so I played bass in the pit band, but the drummer couldn't make it for Disney World performance. So my music, like, okay, hop on drums. So I had to learn the songs like in 5 days, and then we're at Disney World.
Jeez.
Oh, that's rad.
That's basically how you started the band. We were like, yo, we need you for this show in LA.
That's typically how I...
That's how he rolls. That's how he rolls.
Hey, we've got 5
Literally.
days. You want to learn
We
it?
did this show. We did this
Here we
emo
are.
night show, and you know, we didn't have a drummer at the time, but I accepted the show because I wanted to play it so bad, because it's literally like an hour-long set of just 2000s covers, and like in New Orleans it's a really big thing. So like it's a guaranteed like packed crowd, and so I was like, all right, we're gonna find somebody to do it. And so I run into this guy on campus like a couple days in a row, and I'm like, and I knew he played drums, so I'm like, the universe is telling me that he needs to play this show. So I run next time I see him that list. Do you know these songs? He's like, yeah, I know these songs. I'm like, all right, you're gonna play this show with us, and then he ended up joining the band, and the rest is history. So
like free
off the cuff,
practices.
that's how he goes, man.
Yeah, did you guys rehearse before, or did you guys just do it?
3 times, I think.
No, we totally rehearsed. We rehearsed. Definitely.
It was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we had the show on Friday.
Yeah.
So we didn't have a place to practice at the time because our past drummer, the last drummer we had, who we ended up kicking out, that was where we were practicing. We had nowhere to practice. So we ended up...
Kind of shot yourself in the foot there.
We called Guitar Center and we booked a room because they had some, practice room, like, or whatever, like, thing that you could call and reserve. So we were like, oh my God, okay, fine. And like, we literally stacked up in this, like, what was like a private instruction room for like a drum lesson. And this Guitar Center employee was in there, and it's like 6 feet by like 8 feet. And it's just like, we're just like, literally like this with our instruments. We're like trying to like hear each other.
Yeah,
Me and Tom
we're literally playing Fall Out Boy.
Does he? Oh yeah, it sounds great. Yeah.
If you there's the Beatles song Why Don't We Do It in the Road? Why don't we do it in the road? It's on the White Album. It's a cool story there when they talk about that. They're like, because once the Beatles got to that point, they were all kind of recording separately. Like John would do his stuff, Paul would do his stuff. And when they did Why Don't We Do It in the Road, they recorded it in like basically a they describe it as a closet at Abbey Road. And it's just like you just said, Philip, like Paul was like this, John was George, and then Ringo's, and they all were like on top of each other. And it was like, they're like, that's the first time that because they stopped touring too. So they were like, that was the first time in years that we actually were playing all together as a band, and we were in this tiny little closet of a room playing with each other. But isn't that how it always goes? It's like whoever has the drum set where you're rehearsing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's no.
Yeah,
There's no skating.
Yeah, I'm not bringing my
You're
drums
coming
over to your
to my
house.
house,
Just come over here. Yeah.
Me and Thomas
I used
were
to be
like,
a drummer. I've been there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, really?
yeah.
It was in like jazz band and like school and like obviously like I could not practice, so I'd be like, could somebody like unlock the door to the music room so I can go practice? It's like the only person who couldn't take my instrument home with me.
I always feel like growing up in California, being like knowing drummers and stuff, it's like whatever, you just throw your stuff in the car, drive around, go to your gigs, I mean, it's always kind of like you feel for the drummer because they have like the longest loadout and all this stuff. And
Literally.
man, I started spending time in New York, and dude, you see guys like carting their drums on the subway to get to gigs and stuff. Like you're like,
Oh my
what
gosh.
being a drummer in New York has got to be the biggest nightmare. If you're just like a club drummer, like you're just gigging from club to club, like I don't know how they do that because you can't drive and like make it to your gig on time. Like, dude, it's crazy.
I bet you.
Toronto is kind of the same.
Kids.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of places in Toronto where they'll have like a standard like 3-4 piece set just wherever the venue is, and then the drummer comes in with like 50 other pieces of their own. They're like, yeah, just move this out of the way. Let's talk about music a little bit because we got Lip Candy, the whole band here. Drake, you have a new album just came out, I believe. But like, how do you guys all know each other?
We played a show in where was I?
Birmingham.
I was in Birmingham, and we played a show together. And Thomas was actually playing with a different act, and he was just kind of backing up this kid who opened for me. And then we started talking backstage, and he's like, this isn't my project. Like, I'm just helping a friend out, but I have my own band. You should check us out.
I had to plug.
Yeah. And it's like, check out my, don't listen to this guy, but check out my band.
Yeah. I was like, yo, I know he's good, but like, check out my band. I was like,
way better.
Look at my band's Instagram.
Yeah, and so I went back to my hotel, and we were I was just checking it out, and I was like, these guys are really good. They had their music video they just finished for Hate to See You Go, and I was just like, these guys are super dope, and they got a really cool vibe, and they all look cool, and they, it's like always one thing or another. It's like, yeah. It's like, oh, they sound really good. And then you look at them and you're like, they look like bowling for soup, and you're like, oh, yeah. I don't really know what to do with you guys, but
hey,
you guys sound great.
It worked for them.
Yeah, totally. No, I mean, I love that band. That's a great, they're killer. They're a great band, but they definitely have like, they're not your typical run of the mill like, oh, I could see these guys on the cover of a magazine,
Yeah, it's not what you would think three college kids like us would look like.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, they've got a great look. They have a great sound. They're really cool. Like this is kind of cool. And then so I hit him up and I was like, your band's really good and stuff. And do you have, any other music? And he's like, yeah, we're working on this EP. So they sent that over. And I was like, man, this stuff is really cool. And then I just suggested like, hey, we should work together. Like we should, help each other out. Maybe like you guys come play some shows with me. I can help you guys. I mean, you guys already have a great sounding record, but I can like, you basically like use our, all of our resources to kind of pool them together and be like, oh, I know some songwriters and I know some this and that. You guys know all, kind of just like with our powers combined kind of thing. And then so we started working together and then had them come out to LA. We did some photo shoots. We came up with like, some plans for touring, having them hop on some shows. And then this crazy little bug swept through the entire world. And put everything on hold.
Something happened. Next thing you know,
something
looked at my house.
Yeah. I mean, dude, what was that? You guys were here, what, a week, 2 weeks before the shutdown?
Yes.
Oh, no.
literally,
We were from our university classes the following Friday after flying back that Sunday or that Monday.
that's right.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Because when they were out here, they're like, we gotta make sure that we schedule, properly, because we got to get back for these classes. We got to get back for these classes. Make sure that we get back in time. And then by the time they got back, they're like, "Yo, dude, all of our classes are canceled."
I didn't even get back.
wow.
I didn't even go to campus once. Like, I haven't even seen
no,
any
we-
campus
we were actually-
before I
we were
went
seeing-
to LA.
like if you like were anywhere, like if you traveled at all, like send us like a registration form, and then we're gonna like give you, our university was gonna like give us the clearance to attend classes still for the 3 days before they went online because they were trying to savor it, And I looked at the email and I texted Thomas the next day, like right as he's getting on his flight. I'm like, bro, we don't have to go to school today. Like, and we were like, oh, like.
I was about to just not get on my plane. I was about to just be like, "Yo, Drake, I'm coming back. Let's get working."
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. Like, we had this like whole like momentum going, and then everything just kind of went,
Yeah.
So now we're just waiting it out, trying to do what we can while we're stuck inside. Like, I know, Thomas, you were working on recording a new song. There's like stuff that we can do remotely and like kind of send stuff to,
Yeah.
work on.
We've been
stuff to
sending ideas back and forth.
Yeah,
So-
and I just finished a song. I recorded a song literally, like, we might have actually already been shut down when I was at the studio. I don't think so. I think it was like 2 days before it was like, stay at home, that I was in the studio working. And luckily I got all of the vocals and all of the instrumentation and everything down. So now I'm just waiting. I'm just kind of finishing that up, but it's hard because I have to do like some more ad libs and kind of stuff like that. And I don't have any ability to record at my house. So I go to a studio. So it's just kind of a bummer because I'm like, man, I have this song that I want to get finished, but I'm just like, just stuck. It's a bummer.
Yeah. It's not the same. Like, you can't, we've been trying to write, and you can't really write cooperatively through internet latency. So, it's difficult. It's difficult. I'll have one idea, and I'll play it for them, and they'll hear it 10 minutes later,
Yeah. It's like here in LA, we're on total lockdown. So like you can't go outside without a mask. You can't. There's no, like, everything is closed. You can't have more. So it's like LA's got it pretty bad.
Yeah, a lot of everyone here, like, we have a studio that we normally do shows from. It's like, well, only like one person can be in the studio at once. We like just got this thing. It was a little bit frustrating. But yeah, we're gonna, like, Alicia and I, when we were like, oh, we're gonna be talking to these guys, we've been like listening to the music for like the past week and a half or so. Like, I've been rolling weight. The albums are so great. And like, it's so hard to find music that I like nowadays. And when I hear like this, like, you guys have like you're two completely different like singer-songwriters and bands, but like,
right,
two completely different vibes. But like, both of them are like, I like both of these equally. Like, they're so good. I've been playing this tonight over and over again.
Well, it was really funny. When we knew we were going to interview you guys, like, I just went to like look into YouTube, like, this generic search, whatever, and I saw that you guys had covered like Alpine Low and water parks, and I was like, I like these guys now.
Hey. Dude, they're great. They're great.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, we have different enough sounds, but it's all based in good, just, it's just music, like actual playing and actual songwriting and there's so much. And not to discredit anything that's like going on now, because there's like such amazing artists like doing some really cool things right now, but a lot of it is actually kind of a lot like it was like back in the 50s, you know, where it was single driven business, not album driven, you know, and in the 50s, it's like people were pumping out singles more so than albums. They were a group of songwriters writing, you know, like 5-6 songwriters for one song to give to, you know, whoever the hot teen idol was of the day, or whoever the big singer was, you know, giving it to like Dion and the Belmonts, or, oh, this song would be perfect for this person or that person. And so it was much more, it's kind of gone back to that now, where it's like people don't really concentrate on albums because of streaming, and people were relying way more on, you know, rooms full of songwriters, and it's like, oh, who wrote that last hit for so and so? Oh, sweet, we got to get a hold of those songwriters, you know, instead of having, you know, a band kind of, or an artist, you know, doing all of their own stuff, really, you know. So it's kind of like we're like simpatico in that respect, I guess. I mean, we all write with different people, but it's not so much, you know, relying on the machine, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's cool.
I wouldn't speak too soon though. Maybe we'll give in to the machine and just pump out all that bubble gum. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I'm telling you, hey, the machine is great. I've written a lot.
Stay
of
real.
Great stuff, you know. You know, I mean, I've had a. Yeah, I mean, I've written a lot that way. That's what's so. I mean, I've done. My music is crazy eclectic. You know, like my last album is really influenced by, you know, Brian Wilson and Jeff Lynne and ELO and Queen. And then the last song I just finished is completely Latin reggaeton, like, you know. And then the song before that's doing really well is totally reggaeton. It's like in Spanish, I sing in Spanish, and I have it. So like I did a rockabilly album with Brian Setzer with Stray Cats. That's a total throwback 50s, you know, rockabilly album. So I mean, my music is all over the place, just because I kind of just like to play what I like to listen to, you know. And like what I listen to is so eclectic, so I just have like music is all over the place.
And that's like, I feel like that's a respectable thing, because like, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of gone away now, but in the past like 10 or 20 years, like everybody like there was just genre wars going on, like, and everybody wanted to put everything in a box. Like, you had to fight for a certain team. If you listened to one thing but played another thing, you were seen as like fake, and everybody just there were so many gatekeepers for certain genres, and like, but I think the cool thing now, and the cool thing about like what Drake said, is just like, it's now seen as dope to like put out different kind of genre. You know, you can throw different genres on one record, and it's like respectable.
Yeah, I mean,
it hasn't always really
that's
been that way.
That's definitely how it was growing up in the 90s. It was like, if you're a rude boy, you listen to ska. If you're a punk rocker, you listen to punk rock. And like, if some punk band put out something that sounded kind of ska, you're like, what are you doing? Like, what this, so, you know, or you're like, you're a metalhead, or you're into hip hop, or you're into, and there was no like crossing. But now you've got like, you know, Post Malone going and working with Keith Urban, you know, and then you've got like Ozzy Osbourne and Elton John. You've got like all these like crazy crossovers or you've got like Old Town Road, you know what I mean? It's like there's just there's really no rules anymore, you know.
Mm-hmm. And
it's funny because you said ska, and I was like, what Alicia, what should be like this song that's like kind of 90s like club cool? I'm like, do you think ska, like a generic ska, like free YouTube audio music? She's like, yes.
Hold on. Well, dude, you got your logo kind of looked a little bit like the English Beat, or like the Specials, kind of, you know, that whole
the Specials,
kinda, yeah, you know, like this Specials boy. Yeah.
Ghost Town is a little bit too real of a song right now.
Yeah, seriously. Dude, you know what? Funny, speaking of, I don't know why this just popped into my head, but I find it so interesting because since we're talking about music, I was listening to an interview with Paul McCartney and Howard Stern, and he had mentioned something so interesting. He was like, could you imagine if in 1962, as the Beatles were like in Hamburg and about to break, coronavirus swept through the world and everybody went on lockdown, and the Beatles like didn't get to become the Beatles, and like it lasted for 2 years, and then like 1964 comes around and they're like, yeah, we're on lockdown. Like, we can't go record. We can't go to America. We can't go to Australia. We can't go be on the Ed Sullivan Show. We can't, like, all of this crazy, because without now, of course, you can still keep in touch with your fans, luckily now in this day and age, because you can, like what we're doing right now, or, like guys have been doing like covers and being able to post those to YouTube, or they can go on their Instagram lives, and they can still like communicate with fans. So it's not like there's a whole complete like shutdown of that. But just imagine if this was the day and age where like it would have completely changed like the history of music.
Yeah.
If like at that time, if the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and the Beach Boys were on like lockdown at their house, they're just like, well, I guess we don't.
Imagine if Woodstock
didn't now.
Right.
It's that completely. It's like Woodstock wouldn't have happened. It's just
exactly
like it's wild, man. Wild.
It's a bit like
Bob
the
Dylan,
movie Yesterday. It's like Beatles never got big.
Yeah.
It's like Yesterday was like a little bit like, what if the Beatles, like that happened back then and this never went to the future?
Yeah.
I can't even talk about time travel stuff anyways.
But I mean, isn't that just a crazy concept to imagine? Like, that's what we're going through right now, is something that catastrophic. We're like, I wonder how many, like how, like we could possibly be changing the future of music right now. Like there could be some like little Billie Eilish in her bedroom that was like about to go on tour and is like, oh, well, not anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's just wild.
Yeah. There could be like a 3-piece rock band from Louisiana who wants to put out a record and they can't, Like,
yeah, exactly. But like, thank God for technology.
Independent artists.
Exactly. We can still listen to it, thankfully. Like, we live in that day and age. But like, even like, music, movies,
like,
games.
Yeah. We can at least go on Instagram and put on a concert, or, do like the YouTube videos like you guys do or whatever. But it's like, it's almost like we got to kind of double down right now and just like make sure that we, stay connected with our audiences so much more right now,
Right.
It's crazy.
Because then they'll be there for you when you're able to go back out again. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
For sure.
Like right now, like Uber Eats is pushing a huge focus on like independent restaurants, for example. And I feel like a lot of people are like, go support like your independent artist friends. Like, that's sort of the vibe going on. And I think a lot of people sort of know that's probably the best thing to do at the moment.
Tyler, you know what this is, right? This is the moment for us to release our Black Parade parody. How we roll.
Next week. We do a lot of Disney parody songs. We parodied the Black Parade, but it's like about like Disney fans carry on. Like that's changing the context of that song entirely.
I had a very good idea when I was getting ready for a flight, and I was like, Tyler, this is a thing. And we like started writing it, and then he sent it to me a couple weeks ago, and I was like, this is everything I need in life. We're good.
You wrote like 2 lyrics, and then I sent you like, I recorded it right there. You're like, this is amazing, complete it. And then I changed like all the lyrics to be about now, and it came out so good. Maybe we'll put that on our show next year. Anyways, let's get into like a final topic of sorts. So Club Cool used to have this disgusting drink called Beverly. It's a Coca-Cola like a Coca-Cola product. It's this Italian soda that has like the most bitter flavor. Yeah. So
everyone
talking about bitter.
When I was a kid in Atlanta, I was doing a movie in Atlanta, Georgia, and that's where the Coca-Cola factory is. I never got to go to Club Cool, but they have the same tasting room at the Coca-Cola factory.
Oh, wow.
Dude, that is the most vile drink I have ever had in my life. I'm just like, who on the planet drink this? And it's got like the pink, it's like, isn't it like pink? And it says Beverly on it. Like, so bad. I love how everybody knows that one.
Well, it's really great when you go with people who don't know, because then you get to laugh at them.
My brother was visiting me. My brother was visiting me while I was doing this movie, and I'm like, oh, they got this awesome room at the Coca-Cola factory. We're gonna go check it out. And actually, I was on tour there not too long ago, and I did it to all of my band members. I was like, "Oh, dude, like, because some of the drinks that we don't have here are good. They're like pretty good, you know." And they're like, "Oh man, why don't we?" And they're like, "No, you." And the way that it's like, it's not it's Beverly. Like what? Like yeah, it sounds like it'd be good, you know. Anyway, sorry. So, I mean, I know the topic isn't Beverly, so how are we?
That'd be great. What was our just like, okay, well, let's do this transition. So speaking of things that are bitter, is there like something people say about the Disney parks that you just completely disagree with? Like when they're like, oh, my favorite ride's the teacups. And you're like, what? Like, is there anything that
my biggest pet peeve about people dissing on Disneyland is when they don't understand that it's not a park about the rides. You know, it's not a Six Flags Magic Mountain. It's not a Cedar Point. You're not going there to be like scared out of your mind on some crazy rides. You know, it's like they don't understand that it's everything. You know, you have to take everything in the second you walk into the park. And that's what I love so much about Disneyland is because it's Walt's Park. You know, it's not Roy's Park, it's Walt's Park. So you can really see like every little detail that went into what Walt wanted, you know, just like certain simple things like, you know, when you walk into the park, the first thing you do is you walk through the tunnels, which is supposed to be like walking into a movie theater. And that's why they have the posters on either side. It's like you're walking into an old-time movie house. And that's why when the first thing you smell into the park is the popcorn. And that's the first thing you smell. And then so it's like it's sights and sounds and smells and tastes, and it's a whole thing. And then I have friends that are like, yeah, but like they don't even have a ride that goes upside down. You're like, well, that's not really why you're here. Like it's everything. Like you don't get it. You know, that's probably my biggest pet peeve is people expecting that I'm like, why would you? It's not just cement and steel. Like you have to look at the magic of where you are right now, you know?
100% agree with that. Because I have those friends. Yeah. Anybody else?
Or they're like, Disneyland's for kids. Disneyland's for kids. Why do you go so much? It's for kids. I'm like, what?
I'm a childless millennial and I love Disney. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, that's why, I mean, it's that inner child that comes out every time I walk into the park. I feel like I'm 12 years old again. You know, it's like there's just and you know there's so many like senses that are tied to memory. You know, they like say like the sense of smell is like closest tied to memory, or like you eat a certain flavor, you eat something, and like that mixture like hits that certain receptor in your brain that like goes back to that memory, and you're just like, oh man, I remember when I was here with my dad when I was 10 years old and we went on this ride and we did this and we did that. And it was just like, it's, you know, that's really what Disneyland is. You know, it's not just for, when people say it's just for kids, it's a kid's place. Why do you go so much? It's like, you're like, I don't want to, like, what you must be boring. As they're sitting at home playing their video games. Why do you go to Disneyland so much? It's for kids. Call of Duty.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yep.
Anyone else, or do we only have good vibes here?
Generally good vibes. I have to agree about that kids thing. I think the consensus is, yeah, it's like You don't get it.
It's just people that don't understand that there's always a kid inside of you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like no matter how old you are. So it's, it's just, and maybe they'll realize, maybe they'll go and then they'll realize that like, oh, I see what it's about.
I mean, it's like when you watch Hook, it's like, that's the whole thing. It's like Hook. He like turned into a guy who's like, Disneyland is for kids. And then like, he forgot that he was Peter Pan, it's like.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really great.
That's a good example, actually. Yeah.
That's really what the movie is. That's what the movie's about. It's about a guy who doesn't like Disneyland anymore.
We're really reading deep. Yeah, absolutely.
Philip,
right,
when you went on your graduation trip, were people into it, or were there some people who were like, nah, like, why am I going here for my graduation? Like,
I didn't even think of that.
That's the thing. Actually, I was going to mention that, is that it was kind of segregated. It was the people who were universal, like, and then there was, because the trip was kind of like, it's very Disney heavy for 2 days or 1 day, and then it's very heavy. Like you're waking up at 6 a.m. to take full advantage of all the parks. And you're waking up at 6 a.m. to take, or it wasn't even 6 a.m. It was like an all nighter where you're going at 8 p.m. at Universal. And like, it was crazy, but it was like there are obviously some people who were very much more excited for Universal because of just like the more adrenaline fear factor of their rides. They pride themselves on, I guess like the cinematics and the presentation of the rides, I suppose. And not that Disney doesn't lack on it, but it was interesting because it was a lot of like, it was funny because a lot of the couples would go to Disney, and then all the people who were like lonely and who like went to the trip alone would go to Universal.
Oh my god!
Or Superman, or like all these like thrill rides,
Yeah.
Although, have you been on the Wonder Wheel at California Adventure? The ones that move,
That
the
sounds
big
terrifying.
giant Ferris wheel with the ones that slide as you're going around. Okay, that's that. Tell me they don't have thrill rides at Disneyland.
Sounds terrifying. No, thank you.
Yeah, it's very terrifying.
that sounds like the puke machine. The way you just described that.
It is. So, have you been on the new? Have you two been on Incredicoaster since they rebranded it?
Not yet. Look at I genuinely would love to try it though. I love the California Screamin' soundtrack, and I'm like, it looks like a good old fashioned coaster.
You haven't been on California Screamin' even? Oh,
this would have been the month I go to Disneyland, and then this happened, and I'm like,
it's one
gotta
of
wait still.
It's one of the best designed roller coasters in the country. I mean, it's not like terrifying or anything, but it's so smooth, and it's like, it's just the layout is so perfect. And like I said, I'm one of those guys that are like, oh man, why are you changing it? Like, it's so good, don't ruin it. But they overlaid it with the Incredibles, and it's one of those things, and I'm like, all right. It kind of how, because like our what's it called, our Guardians of the Galaxy ride.
Yeah,
is
I can't wait to ride that.
I was so like, because I love Twilight Zone. Like, I am obsessed with Rod Serling and Twilight Zone and all that. And so one of my favorite rides. And then when they said they're going to change it to Guardians of the Galaxy, I hadn't even seen the movie, And I'm like, what? Why are they going to the Galaxy? Are you kidding me? Like, why would they do this? It is so good. It like they're starting to rebrand things, but do it really well. And so it's the Guardians of the Galaxy ride it's incredible. Well, the Incredicoaster is incredible. This one's amazing.
Yeah, I forgot that you were supposed to be there this month, and then I'm trying to go for Halloween, so hopefully this is the year, but who knows what.
Well, Halloween's a great time to go to get the Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
And Ghost Galaxy.
And Buggy Bash, so.
Ghost Galaxy is so cool. I like vicariously live through watching POV ride videos and everything I see of Guardians. I'm like, oh my god, this looks so amazing. Like Joe Rohde knows how to do it right.
The second it turns plugs the music in and the music starts, it's so good. And instead of going like in Tower of the Terror, how you like it takes you up first and the doors open and then takes you up and then you drop. The second the music starts, you're like
launch.
And you just shut right up. It's so good. So wait, do you guys do Hyperspace Mountain?
Mm-mm.
There are no overlays. It's unlucky that it's such a big tourist destination that if anything were to close for like even a day or two, like that would just ruin people's expectations of going and having it open.
During Halloween, they do like an overlay where they turn off all of the lights completely and like they kind of do sound, and that's like their overlay.
That's what kind of is crazy about Disneyland. Like I had some friends visiting from Mexico and they were all excited to go to Disneyland and I'm like, yeah, okay, let's go. Oh, by the way, I need to tell you, like the castle is completely covered because they're refurbishing the castle right now. This land is shut down because they're building inside. Thunder Mountain is down for refurbishment. Matterhorn is closed. So we've got like Space Mountain and Small World. Like we could do that, and they're like, "What? We're from Mexico. Like we can't come here all the time." And so they're like, pictures are in front of like a boarded up castle with like the picture of the castle over it on like boards, and they're like, "Yay!" But yeah, we
got a crane in Florida.
Yeah. The cranes. But yeah, I always feel bad. I'm like, man, like I can just come next week, but these people saved all this money and time, and you don't go on the website and it says, oh, by the way, the castle's covered up this week, and by the way, we're going to be doing refurbishments here this week. It doesn't say that. It's just like, come on, And
that's WWNT because we cover all that. Ooh, look at that. That's a plug.
Yeah, make sure people check that out before they go plan their big vacations. Because there's a letdown. A quick tour of my house just to show you, like, actually, like, I'm not joking around here. Okay, so here's my tiki room, right? We got, like, Shere Khan and Jungle Book.
Nice.
And there's my surfing Goofy. And
the stuff.
There's my Hula Mickey. And actually, what's really cool is these are actual masks and stuff that are actually in Tomorrowland, or in Adventureland. I got them from Oceanic Arts, the same place that made all the stuff for Disneyland. So like this guy and like this guy you'll see at the park. And then I got like my Disney, oh shoot, there we go. Disney, and then my Lilo. Oh, and then check this out. This is pretty cool. This is the artist Noah who did the Jungle Cruise for me. And if on here it says the Daring Drake.
Wow, you have your own boat. Oh my gosh.
And then what else do I have? I have this over here. It's like all tiki. And then you guys will know from the Polynesian, this light here is from the hotel. It's from the Polynesian Hotel.
Really? Oh.
And you got that legally, right? I'm just joking.
But then here's my living room.
So hold on. I have to bring up something that I saw. You had like an Instagram video or something the other day and you were dancing, but there was a Club 33 pillow and I was like super jealous that you have a Club 33 pillow, and I needed to know the story behind. Yes, please talk about those. I really love them.
Club 33 ears, the old Club 33 logo ears before they changed the logo. Yeah, I'll tell you about Club 33. Here's my coffee table.
Oh my gosh. How long have you been collecting this stuff? Like all your life?
Yeah. Got like the old vintage Disneyland.
Oh, those are great.
Those are really
Club 33. This is a Mickey from Club 33.
Oh, Tyler, I want it.
There's the Four Seasons of Disneyland.
Yeah.
There's the castle. There we go. Everything's backwards. The castle, and then I have this wall here that's like
You can just do like cribs.
the House of Tomorrow, and like all that stuff, and then my Avenida.
Oh.
Is that like 3D?
Yeah.
It's David Avanzino. He does these kind of like paper. He's like really cool. You can check out his art online. It's really cool. And then I got the band concert, and then my big Walt here.
Oh.
And this is another one of those like paper ones here. Let me lower the screen brightness. Hang on here. There.
Oh, wait.
So
is that the train going through?
Yeah, it's the train and Monstro and everything. Then it has
everything.
Here You Leave Today and Enter the World of Yesterday, Tomorrow, and Fantasy. And then it's got like the old Utopia. But this is also kind of like 3D paper art. Then I've got the Hatbox Ghost.
Oh.
I mean, not the Hatbox, the Hitchhiking Ghost.
Yeah.
Hitchhiking Ghost. The birthday scene.
Oh.
And then this is one of my favorites, Mickey in front of the animation studios at Burbank. And then I have my Walt over my door here.
Oh. That's amazing.
And this is one of my favorite. This is David Evans, the same guy who did the Small World and that other paper one. He was doing like custom. You could go to the park and get like custom ones, and you'd make it whatever you want to say. And he uses like things from the park. So if you see here, it says Drakeland. It's the D from the Disneyland sign. It's the R from the monorail. The A is the Matterhorn. The K is from the Tiki Room.
That's great.
And so on. Yeah. The N is from like the Jungle Cruise. The D is from the Disneyland Hotel. And then it has the entrance thing.
The plaque.
And then I have the entrance to my Tiki Room is pretty cool. It's right here. He did this one too.
And you got this from the park? Like he was making it in the park?
Yeah. And then here's like the Adventureland one he did.
Dang.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just
despite not being in the parks, it's like you're living out two lands of your own, really.
I leave Disneyland and I come home to Disneyland. Yeah, pretty much.
That is special, and I want all of it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was telling the guys. I was telling the guys when they came out to LA. I was like, "I'm sorry, guys, we didn't have time to go to Disneyland, but you came to my house, so it was close enough."
Close enough, yeah.
Yeah, I'm supposed to charge us.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's
You
definitely,
should have.
dude. Oh, have you guys? This will be the last thing I'm saying because I'll keep going forever. But have you been to the Walt Disney Museum in San Francisco?
No, that's on the bucket list though.
Okay, if you ever make it out to San Francisco, go there. Make that your first thing you do. It's one of the coolest museums you'll ever go to. It's small. It doesn't take very long to go through, but it's set up in such a way that it's just if you love Walt, it's magical. It's unreal. It's unreal. Anyway, there's my Disneyland stuff, and here's my stuff.
I'm 100% like a Walt enthusiast person, so yeah, that'll definitely be on the list.
Yeah, it's if you love Walt and you're not just like, oh, I love Disney, and you're really like a Walt guy, then it's going to be one of the coolest places you've ever been.
That's awesome.
But, all right. Anyway.
Thank you again to Drake Bell and Thomas, Phillip, and Alex of Look Candy for hanging out with us at Club Cool. We've been your hosts, Alicia Kaiser and Tyler Mann. We'll see you next time. Stay safe, stay well, and please don't drink the Beverly. Say goodnight, Tyler.
Good night, Tyler.
See you guys.